A little bit of snow coming into New York right now. New York doesn't get the cold air really until tomorrow, but already from the Midwest through the Great Lakes all the way into the Northeast, temperatures this morning are running about 10 to 30 degrees below normal. Our live current conditions show you in Times Square, it's 18 degrees with a wind chill of about 10 degrees. Oh, but that's just the start of it. This cold air is making it the coldest day for a lot of folks in years. You can't really blame it on Canada, but we call them Alberta Clippers, Manitoba Maulers, or Saskatchewan Screamers. They're fast-moving low-pressure systems, and they're responsible for all the wicked cold air and icy misery coming over the border this week. The only difference is what part of Canada they come from. This morning, almost 36 states with cold weather warnings. Air this cold is dangerous. Warming centers like these on Chicago's south side are a refuge for those who don't have heat. Did you know extreme cold can be more dangerous than the hottest summer temperatures?
The problem is the cold hurts you much more rapidly and much more uniformly. You can put a number of folks out in the desert. Many of them will do fine. You can take 10 people, put them out in sub-zero weather, and they will all start to have very serious side effects, will ultimately die.
Even people who seem to be ready for the weather are not necessarily safe from this frigid air.
Most people think that they are well prepared, and in fact, they're not well prepared. People totally will underestimate how incredibly insidious and violent cold temperature is.
It feels like the coldest winter in years, and a report from NASA climate scientists says 2008 was the coolest year since 2000. But they caution this was caused in part by a cooling La Niña in the Pacific, and warn global warming is still playing an important part in our changing climate.
It's always a little bit difficult to talk about global warming when you're going to have the coldest day of the year. But you have to realize that weather isn't abolished just because there's a long-term trend in the climate.
One thing we all understand, it's cold this week, even though we give it mixed reviews.
I love it. I love it.
I'm going back to Florida.
And Chicago has been right in the middle of all of this Arctic air mass going in. Our Barbara Pinto's right in the middle of that. 9 consecutive days of snow, Barbara. And what, have you been below zero for a full day yet?
Oh, a few hours so far, Sam, but this is going to be a really rough transition. This is a brutal wake-up call, even by Midwestern standards. Chicago's expecting the coldest day in 13 years. The cold is already wreaking havoc on our equipment. You can see the Chicago River behind me is frozen, and that's not the worst of it. The average temperature here at this time of year, 29 degrees, but with the wind, it will actually feel 70. That's 70 degrees colder. There are already reports of minus 40-degree wind chills in the suburbs, and it is not expected to get above zero until Friday afternoon. Sam?
Barbara, and those minus 40 wind chills are nothing to folks who are a bit north of you. Our Eric Hong is in International Falls. We call it the ice box of America. And Eric, you can get 40 below there on a real temperature.
Yeah, absolutely, Sam. And I can tell you right now, I think the cold is starting to get to our trusty thermometer. Right now it's reading minus 20. We know officially, though, it's a whole lot colder than that. And when it does get this cold, a whole lot of things start to fail. Car batteries, de-icer fluid, even for International Falls, this is off the charts cold.
There are few things in life colder than a Zamboni ride with Belmer Coal.
I can barely feel my face right now. I mean, how do you feel?
About the same, yeah. It's kind of raw. It really cuts your skin.
The wind chill was minus 38 as Cole and I prepped this ice rink for the International Falls High School hockey team. When it's this frigid, ice becomes dry and brittle, making skating tougher. And that's not the only way the game changes.
When the ice gets this cold and the temperature is this cold, the puck freezes to the point where if it would hit a goalpost or something, sometimes the puck would break into pieces.
Cold is a way of life here, especially for ice fishermen.
I'm still standing here. Parts aren't falling off yet.
There's no bad weather, there's just bad clothes.
But these brutal conditions have even the hardiest of the hardy adding layer upon layer upon layer.
Let's go fishing.
Keeping food warm is also a challenge. For pizza delivery man Rob Fish, seconds count.
It's a tough deal when it's this cold, but you got to do it.
We did our own experiment.
How long will it take to freeze an egg?
With the temperature at minus 22, our answer came in just 5 minutes.
it's stuck.
Frozen, like so many things in this capital of cold.
And Sam, it is so cold here. International Falls is having to cancel some of the events from its winter festival this week. Its annual winter festival, Icebox Days. It's a celebration of all things cold, but this year, Sam, it's a little too cold.
Yeah, Eric, you've shown us the hardy people of the area, and even they are going inside in this kind of cold air. So thank you, sir.